Gentlemen, and welcome to the first day of the Henley Women's Regatta 2019. It is a beautiful day here in the Thames Valley, and conditions are ideally poised at this stage for fast racing and thrilling competition. My name is Tom Morgan. I'll be leading you through the next couple of hours of heats in preparation for a full roster of racing. We've got crews from all over the world who have travelled across land and sea to be here in the seat of the Oxfordshire countryside, competing at the world's premier women's rowing event. I'm delighted to be joined by Sheila Ford and Steve O'Connor of Marlow and Fulham Reach Boat Club respectively, who are here to provide you with the expertise, insight and hopefully some colour on everything you see on your screens this afternoon. I think Steve's going to be jumping on first with me. Steve, excited to get started?
Absolutely, can't wait. And conditions are looking really good. Wind was up for a bit, but it's just dropped in time for the racing, so looking forward to some close ones this afternoon.
Perfect, fantastic. Yeah, first race off is a heat of the Aspirational Club 8, Barnes Bridge Ladies Rowing Club up against Thames Rowing Club, and you can see on your screens there the crews forward, and the umpire looks like he's just about to get things underway here. On your screen there, I think that is Barnes Bridge in their blue kit, blades squared, ready to go. Flag up. And we're off. First side-by-side racing of Henley Women's Regatta 2019. Seems to be clean starts from both crews, which is always good to see. Aspirational Club 8 underway. You always worry, I think, when you first come out of the blocks, first race of the day, you just want a clean start. A nice, open, easy race to get things moving, get into the rhythm of the day, and it looks like both these crews have provided that. Maybe Thames on the right-hand side of your picture in their black kit, with the slight advantage coming out from the shelter of the island.
Yes, and you can look, both crews striking really high there as they're coming off the start line. You'd expect Thames now to just start eking that lead off, try and get that half length by the end of the island. As you come out of the shelter there, you're into that headwind. As you're coming through on the screen there, you can see Thames just starting to edge out from Barnes Bridge Ladies, looking to about a length at the moment.
Yes, this is actually Thames A crew, so I would expect them to be putting in a strong performance in the early heats. Actually celebrating a bit of a milestone this year, Thames Rowing Club. They've got 43 women competing at this regatta this year, which is, I think, their record number, competing across the 3 days. So kudos to them for bringing a full contingent. I think the best achievement for this club was winning the Britannia Cup at Henley Women's Regatta last year. So see if they can go one better and win the Aspirational Club 8s this year. Strong start from them. They're looking to open up clear water as they come past that quarter mile mark.
Absolutely, Thames now going to be looking to settle into that rhythm now. They've got a little bit of breathing space, but also that first race, you just want to put that marker down, really get the legs working, the lungs opened up, and just really see where you are at the end of the season, see what the speed is looking like. As they come past us here, that Thames boat, looking good and sounding good as well.
Yeah, it looks like a smart crew that from Thames. Wouldn't be betting against them as the competition unravels later on this afternoon and into the weekend. Barnes Bridge, of course, the club, I think, who organise the Pairs Head every year on the Tideway. Unfortunately, they look like they've just come up against superior opposition on this occasion. Always a shame to be on the receiving end in the first race of the day, but someone's got to do it, unfortunately. Very fluid and dynamic there from Thames, nice and long. I suppose at this stage, Steve, they can probably just, with the note of the fact that they've got sort of more rounds to come, maybe take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, at this point, you start managing the race a bit more. You always want to give your opposition respect, but when you get out to more than about a length of clear water, if your Cox is on the ball there, you can really start thinking about managing that race, just dropping the rate down by a pip or two, and yeah, starting to think about the next round for that Thames crew. Looking really in control now, and all being well, should be on their way to the next round at the end of this race.
So Thames enjoying their row down the course, looking like they're on their way to securing passage in the aspirational Club 8. So we move back up to the start for heat number 2. We've got 4 heats for you in the opening 4 side-by-side races of this category, and this one is between Nottingham Rowing Club and Kingston Rowing Club. You can see there on your screen Nottingham on the right hand side of your picture, Kingston in that red and white kit with the Cox's hand up on the left hand side. Kingston have had a resurgent junior squad in the last couple of years, racked up quite a few wins at national level in the sort of the junior women's categories, and Nottingham of course always a powerhouse in the Midlands for competitive rowing on the men's and women's side.
Absolutely. I think Kingston as a club overall is really on the up at the moment. I saw 5 men's 8s entered for the Thames Cup in Henley Royal, and as you say, the juniors have been going really well as well over the last few years, so expecting to see big things from this 8 this morning, and also great to see Nottingham Rowing Club as well on the start line. I remember the days of the Brit and the Union and Nottingham all up on the Trent there, and great to see Nottingham, that's had a resurgent junior squad for quite a number of years now, on the start line as well.
There does seem to be a bit of an explosion of sort of competitive rowing in Nottingham. I remember in the days that I used to row, it's not that long ago, you know, only a few years ago, but Nottingham Rowing Club themselves were the dominant club in that region, but we have, as you say, Nottingham Union, and I don't know if that's sort of a cyclical thing that's come back, but Nottingham and Union, Nottingham sort of Rowing County Association, you know, the universities are very competent as well, so it seems to be that we've got quite a few different crews in that area, and then of course, you know, the surrounding areas, Lincoln and Derby, putting together sort of strong crews every year as well. But we can see there, both crews up forward and off the start. Bit of a shaky one there from Nottingham towards the forefront of your picture, but out clean, which is what we like to see. It takes a little while to get these 8s up to speed. I think it's once they're there, you know, you can almost just hang off the blade and cruise, but getting them actually, a big boat like that, up to speed and moving is a tricky task.
Absolutely, as well. The nerves as well these ladies are going to be feeling on that start line. When the flag drops, you just want to get out and get in front as quickly as possible, and if something's going to go wrong, it's probably going to go wrong in those first few strokes. But it looks like both 8s away cleanly now, settling into that rhythm, hoping for smooth passage past the first uprights of the booms, which they both seem to have done, and now looking to get onto that rhythm and start establishing that lead down the course.
Kingston looking like they've got the slight advantage coming out of the shelter that the island provides. Of course, there's not much of a prevailing wind today, but you do get a little bit of a gust as you come up from behind that. So I suppose it's a famous landmark on the Henley course. But Kingston, yeah, taking the fight to Nottingham here. They've got about 3/4 of a length as the crews approach the quarter-mile signal. This Kingston crew actually came 3rd in Club 8 at Wallingford, clocking a time of 7 minutes and 13 seconds, so a pretty competent crew. Nottingham, just looking at the detail we've got here, a couple of changes from them. The new Cox from the crew that placed 5th at Ghent in Belgium. So 2 crews who on paper should be reasonably well matched, but Kingston having the better of the opening sort of 200, 300 metres.
That's it. Yeah, it's looking like Kingston just out to about a length there now, so not completely in charge of this race just yet. But if Nottingham want to get back on terms, they're going to need to make a move about now as they come up towards the barrier. It's good to have that contact, still just a little bit of overlap there. But they don't want to settle too much at this point. If they want to get back on terms with the Kingston crew, now is probably the time to raise that rate, kick on, try and get their nose in front.
I love it when they come past us. You can literally feel the race as it goes right underneath you. Hear the Coxes scream.
That's it. And I'd say, Tom, there that Nottingham crew actually has responded. They look to me like they've clawed some distance back on the Kingston crew there now. And the Kingston crew, they need to be keeping their heads in the boat, listening to the calls and then responding as a unit to hold off this charge from Nottingham.
Yeah, interesting narrative developing. We saw in the last race Thames sort of row away from Barnesbridge, but here it looks like Kingston, despite having the better of the opening sort of 300 metres, Nottingham have responded well here, Steve. And I think as the crews come down the course, as that camera angle pans out and we get to see Nottingham appear in the forefront of your picture, there will be very little to choose between those 2 crews.
Yeah, it's so tough in these races when you get out to a lead and you start getting rowed down. It's an awful feeling. I've been there a number of times myself, and you know, you've really got to have a really strong voice in the boat there to get the crew to respond, to not look out sideways, to look forward and respond together. But then equally, if you're chasing down a crew, it's the best feeling in the world. and you feel like you're getting more energy the further down you move along that boat. I'd say this Nottingham crew are really taking the fight to Kingston. It's going to be a close one up to the line here.
I suppose the question is, and it's hard to theorise this when you're actually in the boat, but how do you respond to a crew that is hunting you down? So if you're in the heads of Kingston now, do you think about sitting up taller and refining that technique, or do you just think, right, I'm going to crush the legs, I'm sort of going to give it some more welly and hope for the best?
I think, like everything here, it's about 1%. It's not a huge, massive response, particularly on your own, because that will almost certainly kill the boat in the water. But it's about either the cocks or a big personality in that crew taking charge, deciding when is the good time to go, and then making sure everyone's on board with that decision. But it looks here like Nottingham started to move through that Kingston boat. They are going to be hurting in that Kingston crew at the moment. They need to respond if they want to hold on to that lead they built at the start of the race.
Yeah, neck and neck, remarkable sort of middle third of the race from Nottingham. Really composed, because as you said, it is hard to sort of go almost a length down in the opening sort of exchanges of a race, but to respond as they have is very mature and a testament to the athletes and the coaches. But this one's not run its course yet, still very much there to play for between Kingston and Nottingham. You can see there Nottingham on the right hand side of your screen, just raising the rate, starting to crank the gears a little bit.
It's going to be interesting to see how much the conditions and the stream in particular affects the races this year. Obviously we've had a lot of rain over the last few days. Coming down the course today, it didn't look like the stream was moving particularly quickly to what it normally does. But you can see as the course goes down towards the finish line, the crew on the Buckinghamshire station will start feeling more of that stream. And I wonder if that's partly what's happened here to this Kingston crew. But taking nothing away from Nottingham, they really have grabbed this race by the scruff of the neck. Pushing back and now extending that lead up towards the line.
So as we watch Nottingham make their way down the course, it'll look there from that Nottingham athlete. I think they've secured their passage through to the next round. We can join the third race of the day, which is another heat of the Aspirational Club 8, and we've got some international representation for the first time. Upper Thames Rowing Club, Wellington Rowing Club New Zealand Composite up against Vesta Rowing Club. And Steve, those two crews came past us a minute ago, and it looked like a pretty close affair. Vesta maybe having the better of the opening exchanges.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of noise coming down from these boats as all of the girls in there really smashing their legs down to get in front. You'd expect that Upper Thames crew, there's going to be a bit of local knowledge in there, and you'd want them to use that, know where the gust of winds are going to be, know where the stream is, and send that knowledge down the boat. But Vesta, obviously, hugely experienced club. They've been down here who knows how many times. And for using all of that combined knowledge to get themselves out in front, which they seem to be doing. But again, we've got another race here where this is by no means done. That Upper Thames New Zealand crew is hanging on in there.
Yeah, hard to have any sort of form guide here for the Upper Thames Wellington Rowing Club Composite. Interesting that they've come together to race at this event, and a long way to travel for the girls from New Zealand. They won't want to be making an early exit at this stage. But Vesta, strong crew actually. Slightly different Vesta crew, placed 4th in Challenge 8 at Wallingford Regatta and 5th in the Club 8. But at this stage, it's unsure how much of each of those crews is represented here on the water. But still having the better of the sort of first half a length over the composite.
Absolutely. I'm just looking down the Upper Thames New Zealand back there to see where any Upper Thames Lycras are, see how many members of that
looks
crew
like it's all Wellington, doesn't it?
It does. But good also to see them there using the London Rowing Club boat and oars. Great to see that support from clubs over here to our fellow rowers from around the globe, and always really handy when UK crews are able to travel and use equipment. It makes such a massive difference, and allows competition like this to take place.
So you can see the screen's gone split. We'll be keeping a close eye on race 19, which is the heat of the Aspirational Club 8 between Upper Thames, Wellington and Vesta. But Tyne Rowing Club and Thames Rowing Club B has started race 20, the last heat that we have in this batch for the Aspirational Club 8. And you can see Tyne Rowing Club and Thames just on the top right-hand side of your picture, just fading into the distance a little bit. Obviously, it's tricky, isn't it, and credit to our producers for sort of managing to keep a hold of both races here. You can see Vesta look like they've stretched out on the composite a little bit down towards the bottom of your picture, race 19, race 20 well underway here. And Thames B looking like they're perhaps having the better of the opening exchanges up against Tyne, but it's another really close race here, Steve.
Yes, I'd say we're in for a cracker here on this race. Tyne been enjoying a resurgence recently, both on the men's and women's side. They've got, I know they've got recruited some really good rowers from local universities, which have come into their squads. Actually, from a good friend of mine, Ian Weir, I know is rowing there. They've got a great, just a great club atmosphere going, and you can see that translating into a bit of boat speed here. Taking on the Thames B boat, again obviously Thames, we know they've got a great setup there and able to produce multiple fast crews, but obviously when you've got the second eight, you know, you're potentially not dealing with the absolute top athletes, and so Tyne would be certainly sniffing around here trying to take a scalp from this Thames crew.
A bit of a form guide for Tyne, placed 4th in Women's 8 Tier 3 on the Saturday of the Metropolitan Regatta, so that was 3 weeks ago now. So obviously quite a lot of experience on the domestic scene, but it looks like maybe Tyne have the better of it. That camera angle can be a little deceiving. Do you know what, it's impossible to call that, I have to be honest. Really, really good race here, and great racing actually right the way through the regatta so far. All 4 of these opening heats of the Aspirational Club 8s have been excellent.
That's it. It's not much fun to be in as an athlete, but great to watch when the crews are side by side. And you just, you know, obviously this is a sprint endurance sport. There's going to be a huge amount of lactate kicking around now. And it really is just a case of who can sit in that pain the longest, whoever's just going to edge out and get the nose in front. Difficult to tell from where we're sat here and actually on the camera angles as well.
You see, that one looks like it's Thames who've now stolen the impetus.
That's it. Certainly I can hear the commentator in the enclosure getting very excited, so
that would be James Lee.
So looking close.
And I say it every year, but it really is testament to the sort of the leaps and strides that rowing as a whole has taken in the past, I suppose, decade. You can trace it right back to 2012 and the grassroots effect that had on the sport. But every year the competition seems to get better, the sort of the quality seems to get higher, and the number of athletes competing seems to increase, which can only be a good thing for the sport as a whole.
Absolutely, and I'd say you know, we all get a bit more knowledgeable every year on year with training regimes and kit, etc. Supposedly, yeah. And so you're absolutely right. You know, the standard continues to go up and up, and I think I'd say, you know, Thames obviously making use of all that, as I think they're probably just edging that race against Tyne at the moment.
So as you can see, that 8 race, the last of our first batch of the Aspirational Club 8s making its way down. Tyne Rowing Club and Thames contesting it. Just to let you know, we have had a couple of results from the previous races. Thames Rowing Club beating Barnesbridge in the first race of the day. I think Nottingham beat Kingston in the second race of the day. We're still waiting for the confirmation of the result between Upper Thames, Wellington and Vesta, and then Tyne and Thames still ongoing. But race 21 now underway. Aspirational singles, heat number 1, Wadham College against the University of Bristol.
Yeah, so we've got Hall from Wadham College rowing against Crocker from Bristol University. And obviously a different style of racing from the 8s that we've just been seeing. Just one lone sculler in the boat, so it's them against the water, the weather and their opponent on the course.
You see the sculler from Wadham on the Berkshire station, and Crocker of Bristol University on the Buckinghamshire station, and at the moment,
there we go, that's a good shot.
That's a great shot, isn't it? The drone's coming into effect for the first time. You can get a full panoramic display of what's happening on the water. And it quite clearly is the sculler from Wadham, Hall, with the better of the opening exchanges. She came 5th in Challenge Singles at Wallingford Regatta this year. And Challenge Singles, obviously one of the most hotly contested categories at the event. So clearly a sculler with a bit of form and a bit of pedigree approaching this event. And actually she's showing that on the water here, Sheila.
Yeah, that is looking really, really good. Of course, it's a big mental advantage to be in the lead as you come past Temple Island, and a lot of crews, a lot of scullers try and establish a lead at that point. But of course then they've got to keep that lead, and as you were saying earlier, the endurance and the lactate build up, they've just got to sit with that pain. After the first minute and a half, it's just enduring the pain and who can stand it the most.
Well, I think in those 8s races that we saw preceding this, the race can take a little while to turn. The narrative can take a little while to develop because they're such big boats. To move them up and down in terms of speed is hard, whereas a single can almost flip on a coin.
Yeah, they're much quicker to get going off the start blocks. The 8s, very heavy boats, and they take a long time to actually get them up to speed. So good starts, good discipline in the boat, and good teamwork is what counts for them. The scullers, we see different styles sometimes. Some people like to go straight out all the way down the course, and just different race strategies. Some scullers like to keep a steady, even pace and make a push in the middle third of the race. That's quite common to see. So everything to play for still between Hall from Wadham and Crocker from Bristol University.
Yeah, and after that strong opening third from the Wadham sculler, it doesn't look like she's really moved away that much from Crocker of Bristol University. Not definitively. She hasn't really completely sewn up this race. As I say, I think it can be a case of these races just turning. As I saw Mahe Drysdale row down Kittil Borch last year in the stewards enclosure, and that looked like it was not going to happen 10 strokes before that.
That's
so
right.
These sort of races can just flip, but she's still maintaining her form. Still looking pretty strong as she makes her way down the course, and I think it is going to take something pretty special, Mahe Drysdale-esque, for Crocker Bristol to overcome.
So there's something to aspire to.
Just to keep you abreast of what's happening, so we've got aspirational singles race 21 on the course at the moment. You can see here between Hall of Wadham College and Crocker of Bristol University. Next up will be, well, the next 3 races actually will all be heats of the aspirational singles. Agecroft Rowing Club and Trafford Rowing Club next on the course. And there we go, almost as if they can hear us.
There we go.
The screen splits and you can see there race 22 underway. Yeah, Agecroft against Trafford.
Yeah, and we've got Parsons from Agecroft and Sykes from Trafford. So they'll be just down the road from each other, one would guess.
Absolutely.
In Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boat trainers at Agecroft training on the canals up there by the media city.
Yep. Salford. I imagine both of these crews will know each other, or both of these scullers will know each other pretty well.
Yeah, so maybe a bit of sort of local rivalry going on there.
Well, Agecroft every year they come to this event, and they come to all the big events. The women's heads, the Reading University head of the river, you know, the Wallingfords and the Mets and the Marlows, and they always show up and put out sort of good performances. They're one of probably I would say the flagship Manchester club.
I would agree.
That's fair to say in terms of their performance. They have always produced top quality
very
crews.
High level, very competitive.
Yeah, and Parsons of this sort of cohort looking really strong here.
I think, like you were saying about Nottingham and around the Nottingham, if you've got some good clubs in an area, it actually lifts all the clubs, that competition. It's like the rising tide, isn't it? So you get a little cohort of clubs that are all very competitive and getting better and attract better rowers.
Race 21 reaching its conclusion by the looks of things, and it does look like Hall of Wadham College has held off the advances of Crocker from Bristol University. You can see there the camera angle showing that she has established a margin of control over this race coming up towards the line. I think she'll be proceeding through to the next round. And then on the top right hand side of your screen, the Agecroft sculler Parsons really taking the fight to Sykes of Trafford Rowing Club, establishing a couple of lengths clear water as she moves down the course.
Yeah, looking very controlled and composed, working her way down the course.